When I was in college, I left midway and I joined the circus.
Shut up.
Did you know that?
No, what did you do in the circus?
I ran away from home and joined the circus.
I don't believe
True
it.
story. I played music. I played trumpet in the Clyde Beatty Cole Brothers Circus. And we traveled all up and down the East Coast of the United States.
So your parents supported that?
They were not super happy.
Okay.
For me leaving college midway and doing that.
Hey there, hot messes. Welcome to Success of a Hot Mess, where we celebrate the art of juggling life's chaos and coming out on top. I'm Stacy Isaacs, your host and resident rock star lawyer, dance mom, and survivor. We're going to dive into candid conversations about conquering challenges, embracing our unique selves, and finding success in the beautiful mess of it all. Welcome to the show, Glenn.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Before we really get into it, I want to just ask you 5 questions. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Shoot.
What is the first concert that you have ever been to?
Wow. I was 9, I think, and we saw Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, lucky.
The It's So Unusual tour, and the Bangles opened up for her.
Oh my gosh, that's like my dream show.
Really?
Yeah, where did that go?
That was at Sunrise Musical Center.
Oh, wow. Your parents took you?
No, I actually went with my aunt, my sister, and a couple of cousins. And I remember at one point we got to go down to the front of the stage, and she, touched my hand, and I didn't wash it for a week. That was a big deal back then. So that was a good concert.
Did you like Susanna Hoffs better than Cyndi Lauper?
No, I never even heard of the Bangles at that point.
Really?
Yeah, I was all about Cyndi Lauper.
Okay, where were you for Walk Like an Egyptian?
I don't know, 6th row. I don't even know if I remember that song. I just remember that one part singing Cyndi Lauper is when she was,
Girls
in her
just want to
heights.
have fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, going to that front of that stage. And I think that kind of started me off in the rock and roll genre.
But when you were 9, were you already playing any instruments?
A little bit of piano, but dabbling. I didn't start until 6th grade trumpet. So I don't know, how old is that? 10, maybe 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could narrow it down, what's your favorite song?
It's probably the hardest question. But I think we've talked about this before. Maybe I'm Amazed by Paul McCartney and Wings. I love that song. Every time I hear it, everything else has to stop, and I put that on. If not my favorite, definitely top 2.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Also a tough question, and I haven't been to too many places outside of the country, but one was Italy, and it was just amazing. The food, the people, the wine, the landscape. So I think easily Italy.
Okay, that's a good answer also.
Yeah. Cheese too.
How about the pizza?
Pizza was good. I didn't have too many pizzas, but just the pastas and the gelato.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Do you know the one time that I was in Rome, David made me go to the Jewish Quarter and eat kosher pizza. So I haven't even had a real Italian pizza.
Yeah, no, that's not the way to do it.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Definitely not an early bird. I would say more dusk to night owl.
Okay.
For sure.
That's good. And what do you do in between those hours?
During the week, it's, if I'm not playing or rehearsing, it's mostly just hanging with my kids or just relaxing, getting to the next day.
I understand that. What's your biggest fear, Glenn?
I would say losing my kids, which I think most parents would say, but luckily I don't have too many fears, which is pretty good, but definitely losing my kids would be devastating.
Yes, that's very heavy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about how you're an entrepreneur. I know you were playing kickball until your injury. You have 2 kids who are in different activities, and you're a newly single dad. So we're going to talk about how you manage it all. Oh, and you play in a band with me. So can you explain how you're able to juggle all of this?
Sure. It's a lot of planning. You have to plan, and it usually comes into maybe 3 buckets. You have your kids. That's if you have kids. You have either a significant other, or in this case, no longer, and you have your own free time. So you have those main 3 buckets, actually 4 with work. So you have to prioritize which buckets are more important at the time. It always shifts though. So you could have 3-4 months of, taking the kids to sports and really focusing on your work, but then a few other things slide. And then after those few months, you have to kind of switch it and focus on the other things. I think it's very difficult to do all at the same time to the best of your ability. So for that work-life balance, it's balanced for a short period of time, and then you have to adjust.
And you have 2 works. I mean, you own, it's G Clef Academy, right?
G Clef Music Academy.
Okay, and explain to the listeners what services you provide.
So as a professional musician, I've always taught lessons. I've always taught kids. So about 5 years ago, I started G Clef Music Academy, and we go to people's houses, mainly in the Parkland area, and we teach music lessons, all instruments, including voice. Okay. And I have professional teachers that teach for me. They're all professional educators and also professional gigging musicians. So I started that as a side business, and 'cause my passion is music, and so that's a little bit about G Clef.
Okay, and towards that end, I know that you actually worked on a cruise ship as a musician.
Yes, back in the day, I was right out of college. So what was I, 20 or something? And I went to work for Carnival Cruise Lines as a musician, and I did that for 2.5 years. And that was, the best part of my young adult life, I guess.
That sounds amazing.
It was amazing.
Traveling the world. And what instrument were you playing?
Trumpet.
Were you ever able to pull any girls playing trumpet?
Believe it or not, yes. Trumpet's a very sexy instrument, believe it or
is?
not. Yeah. I know,
I guess
we've
in
had
like
this
the
conversation.
in the jazz world, right? It's not a rock and roll.
It's definitely not a rock and roll. Although, Billy Joel has horns, you have Earth, Wind and Fire has horns. So it definitely can be, but not in the traditional sense, like a lead guitar player. It's very different.
Right. And you now play bass in Hot Mess with me. Mm-hmm. How did you make that transition, trumpet to bass guitar?
So I'm classically trained in trumpet. I've taught myself piano from a young age. My sister played. And so I would say trumpet and piano are my 2 main instruments. I always wanted to play bass guitar because I think it's just super cool. You have the funky bass lines, and it's what keeps music together. So I said, during COVID, the quarantine, I said, I'm going to teach myself bass. So I bought a bass on Amazon, a couple $100, and I just started playing and teaching myself. And I said, my goal is to get good enough to play in a rock band. And so that's what I'm doing now.
And yeah, you achieved that. That's pretty awesome. And now the other part of your work life is, what is the name of that company?
So my main gig, which pays the bills, is White Tiger Search. So I've owned a search firm, a headhunting firm, since 2006. I've been recruiting for about 23 years, and mainly salespeople from VP up to CEOs. We do a lot of healthcare. We do a lot of software and government software, cybersecurity, those types of things. So that's
no legal.
I did legal for about 6 months, but the fees were really low and the competition was very vast. So I got out of that quickly.
Can I ask how you came to name the company White Tiger?
Sure. So I was thinking of something a little catchy, a little bit different than Glen and Associates or something, Friedman and Associates. But so in sales, that elusive sale, that big search, that big payday is most people associate it to a color and an animal: white tiger, pink porpoise, purple squirrel, that kind of thing. White tigers happen to be my favorite animal, so that was easy. White Tiger Search. And I think the catchphrase is, we find that elusive candidate that you're looking for.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Which of your businesses do you get to express more creativity in?
Well, considering that I'm not teaching the lessons per se anymore, I can't say that, only because I'm not actually doing it. But actually, I'm going to retort that is definitely G Clef. It's music. I'm talking to people every day about music, seeing how they love their kids, growing in music. So I guess that is definitely more passionate.
Now, how do you have the time for band practices and gigs? Because out of everyone in the band, you probably want to be out gigging, or it seems like you have the ability to be gigging the most.
So that's one of my priorities, is playing music. I love playing music. It's my passion. And the limited time that I do have, I want to be playing. As my kids have gotten older, and as the divorce happened, a year and a half ago, I've had a little bit more time to focus on that. But growing up with the kids, I coached every sport since they were 5 up until just a couple years ago. So I was also on the field 7 days a week. That was the priority. Music kind of fell back a little bit. So it makes me feel good to play music.
No, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Would you consider that your self-care, or are there other things you do?
That's definitely number one. I practice a lot too. And I play in about 3 or 4 different bands.
Cheater.
They're not rock though. They're jazz. Go to the gym, watch TV. I guess I'm trying to think of what else.
Like sports.
Yeah, I
watching
play.
sports.
Watching sports, but I play tennis, pickleball. No more kickball. That's how I tore my calf muscle a
That
month
dangerous
ago.
kickball.
First kick, first
First
game,
game.
pop. Unbelievable. But tennis, pickleball are my two main sports that I love to play.
So what advice would you give to someone who is starting a business or already has their own business but is struggling with being able to get to the gym or, have their hobby? How do you manage it?
Yeah, it's tough. You have to make some sacrifices, and it's usually, again, you have those buckets. So you need to say, this 6 months, these first 6 months, I'm going to focus on work and gym, let's say. You have to wake up earlier. I hate waking up early, but you have to do that, or you have to go later. You have to find the time. Go during lunch. If you can't do it, you need to adjust something at work or something else, maybe with your kids, maybe with your partner, and then flip it after a few months, because then those things get neglected. So it's a planning, it's a priority system.
Is there anyone that you lean on to help you, whether it be like with carpools or homework or?
Yes, for sure. So both of my kids are in travel soccer, and they play for 2 different clubs, and it's chaotic. So we have 4 people for my daughter and 3 people. We had 3 people for my son. He drives now, which makes it a huge relief. So yes, you have to rely on other people, either your significant other, a brother, sister, family, friends, from time to time to help with that, to offset it.
So you think there's, it does take a village. There's no shame in reaching out, asking for help.
Absolutely. I mean, I have no shame asking for help. And if someone asked me for help, I would have no problem helping them. You have to. Otherwise, you're on an island by yourself.
And a perfect example, I mean, I know our band has had gigs, and maybe you had your daughter that weekend, and we needed her to be with my daughter, so somebody was watching her. So
Right.
We all kind of help each other out.
Yeah, and usually you can make it work. There's usually something that you can find that works. And so you have to keep, that's why you have to plan ahead. Sometimes it's months of planning ahead. Sometimes it's weeks. And those quick things where like, oh my God, tomorrow I have to find someone, you rely on friends. And if you don't have that support system, then you don't have it, and you just don't do that thing.
Right. So I have to ask, with all of these things that you have going on, 2 businesses, 5 bands, or however many you have, the kids' sports, how do you find time to date?
What's that?
Like, I literally remember you telling me if the prospective date lives within beyond 20 miles or something, there can be no first date.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Or lives outside of 20 miles.
Yeah, because of everything that's going on, when you have kids, that's a priority. And there's limited time. So it can't be down in Miami. It can't be, North Palm Beach. So yeah, it's not easy. I mean, dating is difficult, period, at any age, let alone when you're older, divorced with kids. So it's tough.
Well, that speed dating is probably good for people with minimal time.
Yes, I actually did that for the first time. I didn't even know it was still a thing, but I did that about 2 months ago, was it? I think we talked
you had
about it.
just like gotten crutches.
Yes, I was just on crutches, so it was 2 months ago, and I went. It was actually a lot of fun. There was no matches or anything, but it was fun. I love talking to people, learning about them. So I would probably do that again.
What do you think is the hardest part about being in a band?
That's a loaded question. Dealing with personalities, for sure. So I have a big band, an 18-piece jazz band, and they're all professionals, but there's a lot of personalities. Now, I also have a rock band that you know of, Hot Mess, that we have 6 people. Everyone's got schedules, everyone's got personalities. They like this song, they don't like that song, they want to rehearse, they don't want to rehearse, all this kind of stuff. So it's very difficult, but because it's the thing that you love or that I love, you make it work.
Yeah, you got to tolerate it, right?
You have to tolerate certain things.
Work
Absolutely.
around it.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm perfect, but
And you're the least intense person I know.
right, exactly.
Right. Glenn, tell me about an epiphany you may have had or a fork in the road moment that shaped who you are.
Good question.
Or 2.
I can think of 2 major things that happened. When I was in college, I left midway and I joined the circus.
Shut up.
Did you know that?
No, what did you do in the circus?
I ran away from home and joined the circus.
I don't believe
True
it.
story. I played music. I played trumpet in the Clyde Beatty Cole Brothers Circus. And we traveled all up and down the East Coast of the United States.
So your parents supported that.
They were not super happy
Okay.
for me leaving college midway and doing that. But I wanted to play music professionally, and it was a good gig. It completely changed my life because I had a little bit of ego, I guess, a little bit of an attitude when I was in college. I thought I was, the best trumpet player, whatever. I went to the circus and it was real life. There's adults playing. We were all in half of a semi-trailer with bunk beds. That's where we slept. For showers, we had a 2x2 rusted floor little shower that we put linoleum tile on. And we had to have a 3-minute shower because there was enough water for that. We traveled, we did 2 days at a town, 2 days at a town, 3 days at a town, malls, all this kind of stuff. I realized, and I grew up very, very quickly. My attitude, leaving stuff on the floor, it was not my space. It was our space. It was the first time I ever had to share that. And that taught me a lot. And I grew up very quickly with that. So I moved, those things I learned into the rest of my life. And I became more tolerant of people and realized, it's not all about me. And that really changed. Recently, both my parents passed away. My mom, both from cancer, and my mom passed away in January of 2020, right before the pandemic. And then my dad passed away in July of 2021. So those were pretty big moments. Of very, very close to both of them. And because things in the marriage weren't going well as well, I realized life is very short. You never know what's going to happen. You need to be happy. You need to do what you need to do for yourself. Yes, you have to still provide. You still have to do things for your kids. But that moment 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was, changed me. And now I'm in the second half of my life, so to speak, and I'm really trying to focus on being happy, do the right thing, for the second half of my life. So I would say those 2 would be 2 of the major events.
Sorry for your loss, but I love the lesson taken from that.
Yeah.
It's very important for people. Well, thank you for coming on the show. Lastly, you could tell us the names again of your businesses and if there's an Instagram where people can find you.
Sure. The music lesson business is G-Clef Music Academy. So it's G-clefmusicacademy.com. And that's also the Facebook page. The recruiting business is whitetigersearch.com. But we do, for G-Clef Music Academy, we do mostly Parkland, Boca, and we come to your house and we teach lessons. So if you want to learn,
I think I could brush up on my vocals, so we'll send somebody
I think
over.
you sound great.
Thank you. And the band Instagram handle is?
Yes, Hot Mess. We are the Hot Mess Band.
Okay.
Because we couldn't find anything shorter.
And the name of the podcast is Success of a Hot
Is
Mess.
it? Oh, okay. Excellent.
Well,
I
thanks
love
again.
It. Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Yeah, see you at the next gig.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Success of a Hot Mess. If you loved what you heard today, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a beat. And hey, sharing is caring. Share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone who could use a dose of inspiration. Until next time, keep rocking those hot mess moments with style and grace. Cheers.